always straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cold villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another slashable episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 484, recorded Monday, July 8th, 2024. Tonight we're talking about the latest from Ty West. The movie is MaXXXine. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Rand Deasy. What's up, man?
I'm a star!
How you doing, buddy? You ready to talk about some explicit action?
Yes. Triple
Our boy Ty is back at it.
explicit. Yeah, man. It's it'll be interesting to get into this one. I've been really looking forward to rounding out this trilogy. I trust in Ty West, generally speaking.
Trust in Ty. All right.
Faux show. Last but not least, calling in from Seoul, South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, howdy, partners. The power of Christ compels you, Stains. What up,
A very religious stain I see tonight.
Bob? It's another dong stomping episode of Straight Chillin', isn't it?
It sure is.
I mean, every week. It always is. It's implied. It's the
Yeah.
implication.
Another dong
We always imply
stomping
splattered
episode.
nut sacks. That's the implication
I
we
was
give
like, oh,
off.
damn. Ty West must have been listening to Straight Chillin' recently. I'm sure he was.
I got my dong stomp. It's inspiration.
Damn. That gives a new meaning to that.
Yeah.
Mom.
Good night.
Woo.
Oh, boys. Before we get into the review, let's tackle just a little bit of housekeeping real quick here. So we do have our August poll currently posted on our Patreon website. If you guys support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this August. The theme for August is Del Toro. Our boy GDT has directed a whole bunch of movies that we just haven't gotten around to yet. So we wanted to pick 3 of them, throw them on a poll for you guys to vote on. And the 3 movies are The Devil's Backbone, Pan's Labyrinth, and Crimson Peak.
Whoa, Bob. How are those numbers looking?
Looking good. Pan's Labyrinth still sitting on top with 58% of the vote. Crimson Peak, second place, 23%, and The Devil's Backbone, third place with 19% of the vote.
It's interesting. It just popped in my mind. One of my favorite episodes is Beetlejuice from back in the day. And at that
Yeah.
same time, we had done a Tim Burton poll, and it had to be for the same month because that was like leading into spooky season as the warm weather was like dying out. So got a little trend here going on, Straight Chillin'. Some
Yeah.
We are
directors haven't
trendy.
directors we haven't covered before. So maybe Pan's Labyrinth will be a new favorite for old Soju.
Maybe. That movie is a banger. I mean, they all are. That's why we chose the 3 movies that are on there.
Mhm.
But yeah, that'd be a really fun one to talk about for sure.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's handily winning. You guys still have until the end of the month to get your votes in. Make sure you do. We'll see what we're talking about this August. In other Patreon news, we're dropping mini casts every other Friday. This past Friday, we just dropped one on stop motion, which is a Shudder original joint. Rand Deasy was talking that one up.
That's true. Yeah. Talking about this new film. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? It's stop motion. It's a film about a stop motion animator who goes insane. So, probably more true than not, if I'm being honest.
Right.
Dude, that type of work would drive me insane. So yeah, I
It
believe
is.
it.
Yeah. That's a game of centimeters,
Dude.
millimeters.
That's
Tedious.
insane to me. I
Yeah.
can't believe it.
Tedious shit.
Yeah.
So check that
Yeah.
out over on Patreon. Next up, we're dropping a mini cast on Sting Friday the 19th. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Your boy Soju talking about Spideys on your face.
Spider
Talking
alien.
about the Scorpion Deathlock,
Yeah,
the Stinger Splash.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Are these
that was
wrestling things?
Yeah.
They are.
Things.
Yes, they are.
There's gonna be some hell to pay here.
Nice.
But not the mini cast. The mini cast is not wrestling things.
Unfortunately.
Too bad.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all we got going on for Patreon. Just the poll and the mini cast. You guys have anything you need to plug?
Not a damn thing. I think I'm a clean house. How about you, Juice?
I do have one thing I want to say, boys. Today, when we're recording, well, for me, is July 9th, which means happy spooky season. Here we go, 2024.
Oh my God.
Raise your
Pumpkin.
glasses. Raise your pumpkin glasses.
It's all
Here we
happening.
go.
Raise your pumpkin
It was a
chalices.
marriage to the beast.
It's
I left it in the
time.
kitchen.
Bob, it's spooky
Dude.
season. How could you leave it in the kitchen?
I'm failing you, man. I'm sorry.
Where's the pumpkin chalice? But yeah, here we go, boys. Heading into the best time of the year.
That's right. Bob, your house? Clean? Not clean?
Last thing I want to mention is we got a brand new episode of Let's Get Physical Media. By the time of you listening to this, it will have just dropped the day prior. Mikey and I talk about our June pickups. There's a whole bunch of new releases on there we talk about. So check out Let's Get Physical Media everywhere you get your podcasts. If you're into Blu-rays, 4Ks, DVDs, anything like that. Bunch of horror, but not exclusively horror.
Bob, I
And,
thought you
yeah.
would have bought all the Blu-rays by now. You're still going, huh?
You know,
Still-
I've seen Rob's new Inner Sanctum.
Oh,
the new
yeah.
Batcave.
I have not, yeah.
Uh,
Randy, what do you think?
that motherfucker is straining already.
No, it's
Under the
not
weight.
that.
the floorboards are
Yeah.
buckling.
Yeah, the concrete floor is it's just cracking right underneath all the weight of those blues.
Sinkhole just opens
those-
up.
I will say, not a joke. At least 2 new blues arrived while I was there,
It's
and
true.
Rob had plans to go pick up Criterions as soon as I left.
It is
So,
true. This is all true.
Those bookshelves behind you are hefty looking. They look like, yeah, they look
Damn near floor to ceiling.
Yeah, they're IKEA, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Spared
yeah.
no
Oh, yeah.
expense.
Oh my
IKEA.
God. Well, yeah, you got blues to buy. You got to skimp on the shelves.
No, it's spared no expense, Randy. You got to protect the blues at all costs.
That's blue gold over there.
These are fireproof bookshelves.
Blue gold silicone tea.
Oh shit. That's
Oh,
man.
man.
it, man. My house is definitely clean.
All right.
All right, clean houses all around.
His house is clean.
All right, boys, let's get in the main event. We're talking about MaXXXine, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob,
Oh, hey.
when are you gonna pre-order this box?
Whenever I can. Can't do it now, but I'm telling you, tomorrow it'll be up there, I
You,
swear.
you made your own little custom box. What's on that box?
Oh yeah, it's just it's a little bloody knife.
That's
It
illegal,
looks
right? Yeah, it's a
it
felony.
looks real.
A felony. Yes. Wow.
Pretty good.
Looks really good. You know, I'm an artist. I don't want
It's
to brag
pretty-
or
it's
anything.
better than what I could do.
The
I mean,
pornographic parody should go in there, of course, but you're gonna have to DIY that as well, I suppose.
Oh, too late, Randy.
Oh God, damn!
Almost.
Oh my God.
This is the
MaXXXine-
dong stomping episode,
Get your hand off my penis!
which is Wednesday for Bob.
Yeah, put on the highest heels you got and get to stomping this dong.
Oh my
That's
lord! Make them
What?
Something like
mashed potatoes.
what I like.
making some fresh ball sack wine.
Oh no!
God
this one-
damn.
All right, I regret this.
Yep, this is your fault. MaXXXine, this is a brand new release, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour and 43 minutes. This is the 3rd installment in Ty West's trilogy. I don't know what to call it. The MaXXXine trilogy. I don't know. But this
X
was written in X trilogy, sure. Written and directed by your boy Ty West. This stars a whole bunch of fantastic folks. You got Mia Goth, of course, in this. Chloe Farnworth, Simon Prast, Giancarlo Esposito, your boy Kevin Bacon.
No,
Halsey-
Bob. That's Ethan Hawke.
Oh, Ethan Hawke. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Moses Sumney is in this. Some other folks. Sophie Thatcher, who is, I think, on her way to be considered a scream queen, if I dare say so myself. Plot synopsis brought to you by IMDb is as follows. In 1980s Hollywood, adult film star and aspiring actress Maxine Minks finally gets her big break. But as a mysterious killer stalks the starlets of Hollywood, a trail of blood threatens to reveal her sinister past. Gentlemen,
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
hell yeah, you do. Would you recommend folks check out Maxine? Randy, kick us off.
Oh yeah, I would. I think that I think for the most part, I've seen some dissent about people ranking these movies and all that stuff. Setting that aside, if you like the first two movies, it's definitely worth your time to close the loop on this. And honestly, I think if you're into 80s shit, if you're into Ty West stuff in general, like I don't see a whole lot of reasons that a big horror fan wouldn't want to check this out. And it's pretty great in theaters, or at least the one we went to. Damn near empty, except for the one snoring guy.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh my God.
To be fair, we caught the early showing. It was at 9:05 in the morning. But
Yeah.
I guess somebody got up early and just fell asleep sawing logs, man.
It's
That's a lot of money to
ridiculous.
pay to saw logs. I don't get
Yeah.
it. But
Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I guess so. Just to complete the trilogy, I guess. Is this a horror? Oh, I think we're gonna discuss it in the thing. I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was a little disappointed with this film in general, and it's like kind of where it falls in the catalog and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess wrap it up. Do your thing. Bob, how about you? Would you recommend people check this out?
Yeah, I would. I had a really good time watching it in the theater, and I generally just enjoy Ty West, the way each of his movies sort of stand alone from one another. They're just stylistically very different, even in this trilogy and where all the movies are connected. I would call it a horror movie. IMDb lists it as a crime horror, which I think
Wow.
makes sense. It's definitely inspired by 80 slashers, but I would say even more so giallo movies, which very much are
Yeah.
like a whodunit type crime thriller horror movies.
Yeah.
So I think
gonna-
it very much is nailing that aesthetic. I mean, this is close enough, man. I think, you could nitpick it, but in my opinion, yeah, it's close enough. Randy, did you have something you wanted to add?
Oh yeah, I was gonna point out that the giallo call out is a good call. Like this, like every time I've ever asked what is giallo, the main response I get is gloved mystery killer, stalking beautiful women mostly, and that is exactly what this movie is. So I guess this movie is a giallo.
Giallo.
There's
Yeah,
always room.
it's
for
not
giallo.
uncommon to follow detectives in giallo movies while they're trying to figure out who done it. And there's an aspect of that in here too. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that sounds like a general recommendation. Maybe not the strongest, but general recommendation across the board from you boys here at Straight Chilling. We are going to be spoiling Maxine, and here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Hey, Bob, do you have this plot synopsis?
You know I do, brother.
Sitting in that empty theater, you could just type this right on your phone, right in the theater, no problem.
Yeah, I didn't want to wake up the dude that was sleeping there. With a...
How considerate
That's
of
called
you.
yeah, that's called consideration. That's how you act in public.
Yeah,
Oh,
I better
wow.
hang that shit up, right? It's a lost
Oh.
cause.
Yes, it is.
I do have the plot synopsis, and here we go. So in 1985, Los Angeles, the Night Stalker is killing young women all over town. We see Maxine Minks has made a lucrative career as a porn star, but wants to break into mainstream film. She auditions for a horror movie called The Puritan 2 and lands the part. Her colleague, Amber, invites her to a party in the hills, but she declines to go. Maxine goes to work at her second job as a dancer at a peep show, and a leather glove wearing patron watches her dance and becomes enraged. Another colleague, Tabby, invites her to a party in the hills, but again, she declines. The mysterious figure leaves a VHS copy of the porn MaXXXine and her friends made 6 years prior on her doorstep. She gives the videotape to her friend Leon, who works at a video store, and asks him to try and find out where it came from. The following day, MaXXXine finds out her co-workers Amber and Tabby have been murdered and branded with pentagrams. MaXXXine is invited to meet with private detective John Labatt, who says her previous crimes will be revealed unless she meets with his employer at a specific address. 2 LAPD detectives question MaXXXine about her murdered friends, but she won't talk to them. Labatt continues following MaXXXine, and she punches them in the face with a fistful of keys. She begins learning the lines for the Puritan 2. That night, her friend Leon is murdered in his video store, which is beneath her apartment. The detectives again try to get her to help, but she doesn't. Instead, she goes to her agent, Teddy Knight, and tells him all about John Labatt. Teddy says not to worry and just focus on the movie. He's got it handled. On set, MaXXXine meets the previous star of the Puritan, Molly Bennett, who offers some acting advice and also says she's going to a big party up in the hills. John Labatt chases MaXXXine around the Universal backlot, but security guards grab him and throw him out. That night, MaXXXine tricks Labatt into a trap where he's knocked out and crushed inside his car by a junkyard trash compactor. With the help of her agent, of course, MaXXXine finally decides to visit the address Labatt gave her in the Hollywood Hills. She discovers her estranged father, who is a televangelist/cult leader, is the killer. He's been murdering these young women and making it look like the Night Stalker. He ties MaXXXine to a tree and plans to make a movie of his own showing the corrupt, sinful nature of Hollywood. He plans to stage a sort of exorcism and force MaXXXine to accept God into her life, or he will brand her just like the others. The LAPD detectives show up and engage in a shootout with MaXXXine's father and his disciples. They chase him up the hill. Both cops are mortally wounded in pursuit. MaXXXine finds her father injured, laying on the ground, and stands over him with a shotgun. She has a brief daydream where she's at the Puritan 2 premiere, being interviewed on the red carpet, and there's also a biopic that's being made of her life story. Snap back to reality. She tells her dad he didn't fail her. He gave her everything she needed. Quote, divine intervention. Then she shoots him. We then end with MaXXXine on the set filming The Puritan 2 and hoping that her Hollywood career shall never end. Roll them credits, boys.
Burn in hell.
Burn in hell.
Oh boy.
All right.
Oh boys.
So yeah.
I remember when we had the Year of Pearl and X, and it was without a question that those movies were going to be in my top 10 horrors for the year. I think Pearl being 1 and X being like 3 or something like that. I don't know if this is going to make the top 10 of 2024. Maybe it'll, but actually probably not. I wasn't crazy about this movie, and to be fair, I mean, there's a lot of hype going in. I wasn't like trying to like overhype myself too much, and I generally like really like Ty West films. There's been a handful of times where I think he just kind of pooped the bed a little bit. I don't think he necessarily did that here, but some of the elements that I've had problems with, like some of his other films, the Western that he did, that was like his worst film I think that I've seen, we're in here. I think it's a little self-indulgent. And overall, I remember like my reasoning for placing Pearl above MaXXXine is because like MaXXXine felt like more of an ensemble, like group type of movie. Like the
You mean
other
X?
or X, I'm sorry. Yes. I'm sorry. So the reason I put Pearl over X in my top 10 for that year is because like Pearl was the focus of Pearl, and like she really shined in that. But I remember when X was done and they were like, oh, we're going to continue a movie with MaXXXine. I was like, well, I mean, MaXXXine was like a fine character, like in the grand scheme of things, but she really played off the fact that like Pearl was there and obsessed with her, and there were other interesting characters doing interesting things together. And I think my worries for that kind of like fleshed out here a little bit. I just don't particularly find the MaXXXine character as engrossing or interesting as the Pearl character. So I think that was a little disappointing too. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, for me, it's not a question that Pearl is the best of this bunch. Like that, like I just, and it could be that I'm just partial to a character study, or it could be that it's just a stronger film. Like who's to say, really, except for me. and I don't know.
No.
So but
and I can't.
and I just don't have that answer. But yeah, like I think I might like this movie a little bit more than X personally. Like I really like X a lot for being like as close to Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake as you can possibly make. I like the cloistered, isolated feeling there. And this, like, all three movies are very, very different. But what I like about this one is two things. One is I really like the aesthetic of it. I think that I was really kind of anticipating it falling flat or like losing steam for me, but it actually was the opposite. I've like found myself more and more engrossed in this time period as the movie wore on, which was not the case for me with X. And Pearl was just kind of like top to bottom great in that regard. So like there's that, and then also I kind of liked that. I kind of like the direct. It felt like a conclusion to me in one way, and that way is in how it deals with the central theme of all of these, which is about like morality, sexuality, and the social barriers put up against young people doing what they do with their bodies, or like people pursuing like the pursuit of fame or whatever is such a central part of Pearl, and central part for Maxine character, all that stuff. But like the thing that interested me was like the morality police aspect of things, the conversation that they had with Jenna Ortega and X, or their Pearl's mom talking about like the dutiful work that she should be doing, how she's just wasting time and being a burden. And then in this movie, it's like all comes to a head where like the puritanical thing. She's literally in a movie called The Puritan 2, first of all, that is being boycotted by the church. And then a church cult is murdering people to frame somebody else in order to discredit the movie industry as evil. Like, to me, that's what this whole franchise is. So if I'm going to like be like putting them above and under each other, to me, that's like it comes to a head nicely here. I will say that the Maxine character, though, on her own, in her own right, I totally agree with you. She's like fine, and she get like the performance is good, but like she's a little hard to read. Pearl was very upfront with what she was like going through. You could really tell, and part of that was the style. But Mia Goth in this is like a little bit harder to like, I don't know. She's a little harder to parse, and without somebody like a Pearl kicking around, or like a big bad that you actually see with a crazy performance. I guess the closest thing we have is Kevin Bacon, which I do like that performance, but it's also so informed um by Jack Nicholson in Chinatown, and like what's his name, Nick Nolte in Cape Fear. Like he's like a combo of those two characters, like right down to the costume and the facial injury. Like I don't know. Like I like him, but I feel like that's more style than substance in his regard, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's how I'm feeling generally.
I think you make a good point about this sort of thematically having a solid like period when it comes to like the ending of a trilogy. But I found like this to be sort of underwhelming in the way that the characters of Pearl and Maxine, they're parallels. They're set up very clearly to be so, and there's no like real um just desserts, I don't think, for Maxine. Like she gets what she wants, and she is in X, she is very much an underdog, and you're kind of like rooting for her. She's got an edge to her for sure. But in this movie, it felt just like it rang a little hollow at the end for several reasons, I think. To me, like it was like really obvious that her dad was gonna be the bad guy in this. Um, because like who else could it have been? It was just some random person we've never seen before, or just the actual Night Stalker, which would have been really lame. So it ended up being her dad, which was really easy to call. The cult was just kind of guns blazing. I don't know, the shootout. The detectives kind of die off screen, and then Maxine ends up blowing her dad away with either police or a news copter watching it happen, and then she just kind of goes free and makes her movie anyways. The ending is just really like quite lukewarm and doesn't. It's not. It feels like an unsatisfactory ending for the character of Maxine in a way that this actually feels like a middle movie to me, and not like the ending of a trilogy is the way the ending of it hit for me. Did you guys
Interesting.
vibe with that at all?
Yeah, I just like
Partially.
like there's no yeah, you're right. It's kind of stupid for them to keep the dad in the dark like that, because one of my biggest problems is like there was nobody from Maxine to play off of in this film. So in Pearl, you have the mother for a lot of it as this conflict. I want you to live this kind of more pure life. I want you to stay here. I want you to help take care of your dad. There's this kind of like conflict there. And then she also has like the guy who runs the theater or whatever, who's going to take her to Europe and who's going to sleep with her and all that stuff. And then she has like a husband, so like there's more conflict there. And then in X you have Pearl and Maxine playing off of each other, and then you have the other things too that are interesting, like the Jenna Ortega situation and stuff like that. Here they're just like, they should have had the dad be a character. It almost felt a little bit like Scream 3, where somebody shows up at the end and you're like, well, I don't know who you are.
Yeah. And
I
here's
agree
the
with
killer.
that.
Yeah.
This is the only one of the three that is not, I feel like is not really self-contained. Like,
Yeah.
not in the same way, because like you're right, like it was kind of easy to tell that the dad was the villain. And I think that now that you've said the word Giallo, I immediately think that that is the reason that they did it that way, because there is no reason to otherwise. Like, we don't know that character. The only hint we get of him in this movie is the intro with her dad talking to the little girl version of her about how she's going to be a star, and showing how he like kind of passed that into her a little bit. But it's not really fleshed out at all. And the only other hint, the only reason we know for sure that he's going to be involved is because he is heavily hinted at the end of X. So, like, as it being involved in some way. So, like, I don't know. I feel like that's not enough to set him up as a big bad. You know what I mean? I just, he feels
Yeah.
like out of left
Well,
field because he's not established in this film well enough.
Well, the movie
series a little
opens
more.
up with Maxine as a little girl, and her dad is like off screen talking to her, feeding her lines and telling her
Mhm.
she's going to be a star and all that shit. So like it opens up with a reminder of like she was raised in kind of a bizarre, overtly Christian upbringing. So it does start the tone of this movie with that, but it just, you don't
But you quickly
really get
forget
to know
that, like,
'em.
they don't if
Yeah.
they had one scene of her talking to her whatever boyfriend, the VHS store guy, I don't know, they're kind of, it's kind of seemed like a boyfriend, maybe a friend, whatever. But like, if they had one conversation about like her conflict and the way like her past or something, with her dad, with her church, with prudishness in general, and how she came to reject that, like, I think that it would sell better. But it doesn't. I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
I don't think it. I just feel like just having that little hint at the beginning is not enough on its own. The only reason that it made so much sense to us is because it was hinted at one other time, and not like, that's what's great about Pearl versus Pearl and X, is like they homage each other, they reference each other, but they don't
Mhm.
depend on each other. And I think in
Yeah.
that way, this movie
I-
depends on X.
I kind of half expected this movie to end in, I don't know, like a similarly disappointing
Mhm.
way that like Pearl ended for Pearl. Like Maxine would, if she's gonna blow her dad's head off or whatever, and there's a camera or police officers watching, like she would then be like locked away in prison, but become like infamous for these like
I
I
thought
thought so
that
too.
too.
crazy horrible acts that she did,
Yeah.
instead of like let her career continue and then that just potentially actually become a famous movie star like she wanted. It's like there is no real lesson here for this character. She just is
Well-
ruthless and gets what she wants at the end of the day, I guess.
Well,
which,
they drop a line where the cop is like, people don't realize the difference between fame and infamy or something like that, when
Yeah.
when the girls are dying and they're talking about pursuing fame. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's, and really too, because the whole thing, I think it would have been more interesting because they kind of played up as the reason for Ethan Hawke to be like involved in this situation and stuff, but it almost like
Kevin
her,
Bacon.
I know, but it almost is this thing of, I thought they were going to play up a little bit more of the idea of like, people keep ruining my life, or people keep involving themselves in my life that fuck it up, which would have played well with the conflict with the dad, because if the reason she feels like she is not advancing in her career or achieving her dreams is because she has to change her name, she's on the run, people suspect her of murder or like something like that, and like people keep interfering in her life, well then an ending like that where she has to kill her father defending herself but is ultimately locked away because of it, where she gets the fame of like being a murderer but not the fame of like being a movie star, like that might have some like more connection. It just, I don't, this movie doesn't really do anything. Like
It
I
feels like a
don't
middle movie, like a bridge.
it doesn't even, it really just, it just, I like, it doesn't, I don't feel like it's got a good through line. Like I remember getting to like the 50-minute mark and being like, what are we, like, kind of, what are we doing?
Which
I
is
just,
kind of true to most Giallo movies, where you're just like, I don't really know what this adds up to,
I
which isn't
just,
necessarily something to aim for when you're rounding out a trilogy, but it is like
just,
strangely
Yeah.
accurate in that way. I do really like the ending is unsatisfying, I think, but I still did enjoy like sitting in the theater watching this movie. I think Ty West is just like so incredibly talented when it comes to recreating a style of a specific decade,
yeah,
and I think he does it in a way that's not like overly nostalgic and like ramped up. I think he is able to do it in a very truthful manner for the most part, and I think he does that here. There's a lot of times when the aspect ratio changes and it looks like, you know, something you would have shot on like VHS on a handycam or something, or 8 millimeter, I guess, back in the early 80s, whatever. And the lighting, the grain doesn't feel like it's digitally added, even though I'm sure it probably was. I don't believe this was shot on film. I was trying to find the answer to that, but I couldn't. It was shot digitally though. The split screens and like the side swipes, the like crazy car tail spins, and like not overly
Gore
neon,
shots.
but like just enough neon in this. It's like grimy and dirty and in a realistic
I
feeling way. I think he nails all that stuff.
I think the fucking gore shots, like
Yeah.
the kills in
Yeah.
this are like way like comparatively to me completely amped up from most of the kills in the previous one. Just like like it's just far more visceral and more bloody and more like and to me that speaks to the time period as well. I think that like all that stuff is really done well. As far as
Mhm.
like yeah, to me it's like the through line is not the through line is the idea of being controlled by other people's hangups essentially like being controlled,
yeah,
and that to me that does work. I think that having her like go to jail in response to taking her power back from her father or whatever would have made a kind of sense. It would have been a tragic end for her, but like I don't know that like the just desserts conversation, she's ruthless, but she's not like the most evil person. Most of the time in this franchise, she is aggressing back at aggressors, people that want to hurt
yeah,
her. The only
yeah.
person she outright plots to kill is Ethan Hawke,
Well,
Kevin Bacon,
and that's what it
who
made.
is
Yeah, there's,
hunting her basically.
yeah, that's what it made, would have made the kind of like tragic ending kind of that makes sense. Yeah, because it's like if every time you see her, she's doing these brutal things, but she's defending herself or she's doing it. And we've already seen that in Pearl. And if we see where she's, because like here, like she's successful as an adult actress, but she's, I just want to be a movie star. So like that's the main drive of the movie, which isn't like that interesting. I mean, it makes sense for the character, but like if each time, you know, like she finally gets this role that she wants, and again, someone inserts themselves in their life, trying to control her, trying to do the things they want her to do, and ultimately she loses that because she's just defending herself. Well, I think that just makes a more potent ending. I don't know. Like, I
Yeah.
I kind
just,
of do too, but I
And
just like I just don't see it as like just desserts. I see it as a tragic end, a
yeah,
tragic ending that would
yeah, a
make
more
thematic sense.
consistent.
That's
She's not like a full blown anti-hero or anything like that in this,
yeah.
but she
And she's not
it
a
yeah.
serial killer. That's the thing that
No,
separates
she
her from
yeah.
Pearl, is she is not
Yeah.
like inherently a
yeah.
killer, and
So she's
Pearl
not
is.
interesting.
That's
Yeah, like
I
well,
do I do think it's interesting. It's funny that all like Jean Labatt is a fucking pain in her ass this whole movie, and Kevin Bacon plays that role fantastically. I really think he kills it. But all he
Mhm.
essentially wants her to do is go to the address, and as soon as she finally murders him, she just goes to the address. Like
Yeah.
it
Well,
doesn't
she does
change
it.
anything.
She does it.
Yeah.
Why'd you do it? As like
To go
because
try
the
and
news
save the other actress that just went up
actress.
there that
That's
gave her
right.
the
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
it
gave her
was
the
it was
advice.
for some altruistic reason, which is like
Yeah.
very counter to her. Like that's the other thing. Is like I could also see a version of this ending where she just decides not to shoot her dad and decides that some like not necessarily not being ruthless, but like she's not going to hurt herself in pursuit of hurting somebody who's trying to hold her down. It actually serves her better to just stand on her own 2 feet and walk
Yeah.
away. You know what
I
I
get
mean? Like
the
learn
worst-
that lesson maybe. But
Other than murdering Labatt, I guess the worst thing she really does is like she refuses to cooperate with the police in fear of putting herself at risk, and because of that, several of her coworkers and friends are murdered.
yeah, but she doesn't control that. I don't see that as
Yeah,
like
there's
egregious
stuff.
at all. Like putting herself in like basically ruining her own life in pursuit of circumventing or like I don't know, she's afraid for her own life. Her friends are getting murdered. I don't blame her for not talking to the police, especially when they're being so aggressive with her. Like I don't know. I think the whole thing is like it's understandable why somebody would need to protect themselves. If the Night Stalker is going to kill people, they're going to kill people. All you can do is watch out for yourself to some extent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that whole like red herring in this movie was nothing, man. The Night Stalker, I know it's like, a real thing, and I typically really don't like when fictional like properties like this is a trilogy. It's all made up. None of it's really based on anything real. And then all of a sudden you have this actual serial killer kind of thrown into it. I don't like it when filmmakers do that. I mean, I'm glad that it was basically only mentioned in this and really didn't play into
Yeah.
the plot in any major way. It just sort of it feels like you're really pandering to people who love true crime in a way that it's like almost the worst way to do that, because you're not even trying to like talk about the survivors or the victims or like it's not like
See,
educational in any way. It's purely entertainment. And
Well,
I don't know,
I
that
don't
just
really see it
really
that way.
bothers me a little bit.
I would just say
Go ahead.
that this movie, it just felt unfocused in that I don't necessarily, I could see Bob's point. It doesn't bother me as much in that way, but I would just say like as a device for a film, it just feels like kind of it feels like something to put in a trailer, which they did. And also too, in the same way, the like Psycho House being on the set, which I thought was an underutilized, not just the Psycho House, but like I do like the chase scene through the lot, the studio lot. But I felt like that could have been utilized or played up in an even more fun kind of way. But just like standing outside the Psycho House to have a dialogue and kind of like try to have this point delivered by this director, just sometimes it felt
Yeah.
too self-indulgent. It felt like Ty West was being too cute with a lot of things. It felt like he was like trying to like deliver these clever or witty or like ideas that I'm just like, dude, first give me like an interesting, good narrative first. And I just feel like that's severely lacking from this film. An
I thought we were
interesting
at
character or
least
narrative.
I thought we were at least gonna get a cool kill at the Psycho House, and you don't even get that. It's really
Dude,
it's just eye candy.
You
It's
get
like,
Larry
oh, it's
Fessenden.
nice.
it's just
You do
something to
get
put in the
Larry Fessenden,
trailer. Yeah,
yeah.
it's like, oh, in the
I mean,
Psycho
so-
House. It's like, it doesn't do anything.
To jump back to the Night Stalker thing, like I agree that it's kind of like that I don't love it when movies do this or when it's worked into fiction in that way. I would argue though that I think it's another example. I think that decision is also informed by a need to a desire to place set, to make the setting work, and part of like that is a huge factor for satanic panic fears. And like the Night Stalker is kind of central to satanic panic fears and Hollywood's grungy underbelly like reckoning the feeling of like paranoia that was going on at this time. I think it's all to like zone us in on that. And to that extent, I think it works fine, but I just think it is a little ghoulish to use the real thing, even though I can understand why it's a more it's easier to tap into if it's the real thing, if the to actually like get that sort of reflected resonance. So I can
Yeah.
understand why you'd want to do it, but I just don't. I just don't like it when people do that because kind of for similar reasons, Bob. It's just like to me, it might that does feel more style or substance. I think you can do the same thing with a different killer name, like whatever it is, like the Hills Killer or something like that.
Yeah,
Stalking the
whatever.
streets.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking thing. You know what I mean? Like, and we don't know the Hills Killer, so it actually feeds a little more directly into the red herring of the father, and maybe gives that a little more potential.
Another
I don't
thing I
know.
thought they were gonna do, I thought they were gonna do this, which would have been kind of cool too. I thought she was gonna choose to kill her father with the thought of what the cop said earlier of, oh, infamy, through the violence you gain the
Yeah.
fame. But what I thought was gonna happen is she was gonna choose that path, which she did, to kill her father, and the thoughts that like, well, if I can't make it as a movie star, I'll make it as this famous like person or whatever who has done this ridiculous thing. But it was going to be completely overshadowed by the fact that just at that moment, also too, the Night Stalker was caught. So she like goes through all these things
Yeah.
thinking it's going to gain her fame. Somebody else
That could've worked too, yeah,
overshadows
I like
her,
that.
and she
Yeah.
just loses everything. Like, so I don't.
That would have
The thing
been
is-
because they did a
interesting.
cut. Yeah,
That
they
is
did a cut.
interesting.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, the Night Stalker is caught, and I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, her whole moment.
That's an irony.
Gonna, yeah. But dude, they didn't do any of the interesting things.
I think
They didn't do
I think they
anything
didn't want.
interesting.
I think they wanted this to end like Pearl ended with such a down note for the character, like, and it felt fine because she was just a stone cold killer who also wanted to be famous, and that doesn't seem to be the case for MaXXXine. She is ruthless, yes, but to an end. You know what I mean? She's not just killing a random movie dude because he said she's a little scary. You know what I mean? Like, or she's not just stabbing geese for no reason, or any of that shit. She is defending herself in most cases to the hilt, in fairness, and I think that that's supposed to be what I think we're supposed to be rooting for her as like I hate to say this because it's like it's reductive and stupid, but it's like a girl bossy thing almost, where it's like she's taking control of herself in a world that doesn't respect her or
She's a
the way she
bad
uses her body and all
bitch.
stuff. She's a
Yeah.
bad bitch, and she's gonna take. I'm like, that
I
can
hate
work.
that shit.
That can work, but it's not like it's not really coming off here to me. It just
Yeah.
doesn't. To me, like having her win in the end, it goes against logic in pursuit of the feeling that she came out the other side and like she's the queen of the hive now or whatever.
I
Like,
wonder.
I don't need that.
wonder.
I need it to make a narrative sense.
I wonder in a pessimistic kind of way if, like, the threads are there. Ty West is a good writer. We know he is. We've seen his other movies. I wonder if he sort of like maybe pulled the punch at the end a little bit just to leave room enough to make another movie, like in
God,
the
I hope
hopes
not.
that maybe they could get bankrolled for a fourth film. And maybe that's not the case, but
I
it,
don't
it
think
just
they would need
feels a
that.
little like that,
They've already made a whole movie out of
I agree.
Pearl,
yeah.
like which
Yeah.
was by no means like a character that screamed sequel on her own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not in the form that we got it. Like, it can be like tangentially related and just homage. Like the little girl MaXXXine does the same dance that Pearl does in her audition, if you notice in that opening thing. Like things like that, you can make hay out of that if you really want to make a sequel. And
Yeah.
just make it stand. The trick is to make it stand alone. So if they
Well,
did
let's-
that for the purposes
Let's
of
talk
making a
about
sequel
some
with
positives.
MaXXXine,
We have circled this drain for quite half an episode. So, something that I think this does do a lot of, Juice, you kind of mentioned like X does a little bit of this too, with like it's more of an ensemble, like a fun cast of characters. I think this does have that going for it. Maybe not to the same extent. But I think the introduction of Kevin Bacon in this is fantastic. Giancarlo Esposito, to a lesser extent, is also really great as her sort of ruthless manager who's like mobbed up in some way. Sophie Thatcher, the girl that does all the practical effects work in this, does a really great job. I've been seeing her a lot on Yellow
I
Jackets.
like her a lot.
She
but
kills it in that.
She's minor in this.
She is minor.
Yeah.
She is. Her best friend, played by Moses Sumney. I don't know if I've seen him in anything else, but I really loved his character as this just nerd, the skateboarding nerd who works at a VHS shop. He's like stocking the shelves, who's like assumedly her gay friend, because she says something along the lines like, "You're the only person not trying to fuck me," or he says that to her, something
He
like
said,
that.
yeah, he says, she's
I
like,
didn't
why
hear
are you
that.
the only guy
Yeah.
that like I like her? And he's like, because I'm the only one who's not trying to
Right,
fuck you.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that relationship is cool. I like that character. His kill is probably the best in the whole movie, too.
What? Oh, I thought you were gonna like that one. Oh, I thought that like slow-mo kill was so cheesy. That was the too self-indulgent thing that I thought Ty West was
That
getting into. It was
that
too.
is like
I was like, oh
the
God, Bob's gonna
Jalo-iest
like
kill,
this,
though.
and I was
It's
like, this is too
I kind of liked it.
much.
I wouldn't say
Yeah,
it's the
that's
best,
well,
but
okay.
I liked it
Yeah.
fine. I
What
thought it was
beat-
like the amount of blood and all that stuff. I thought that worked nice.
Did you have one that you preferred?
Well,
in the movie?
I liked moments better. So one
Yeah.
moment that I really liked was the creating of the mask, where she has her panic attack. That was a great
Right.
scene.
Yeah,
That was a
yeah.
fantastic scene because like you get to use fear in like an interesting kind of way, and then also reference the kind of like I know he's doing the movie making experience and being a star. So I thought that that was a good natural balance. This person has trauma. They're left alone where you can't hardly fucking breathe. You can't see. You think somebody's after you. There's also like these horror masks surrounding you and stuff. That I just thought that that felt natural and worked perfectly well. And you could have even taken that idea and done it again with sets. You know, like you're on
Yeah.
a interesting set piece and you're shooting a horror film, so it's designed to be spooky or mysterious or like stuff, you know, like you could have played with that even a little bit more, I thought. But kill wise, well, I don't know. What kills do we have in this?
There's
What were
not
some
a lot,
kills?
honestly.
The
There's
dad at the end.
the ball crush, which isn't a kill, but that's great.
No, yeah, that's
Uh,
fine. Yeah,
Yeah, the
okay.
dad at the
was
end,
the
the
best.
best friend. You see the actress that she goes to save. You don't see her die, but you see her dismembered body like fall out of a suitcase
Yeah.
and roll down the
You
stairs.
see a lot of
Oh,
gore, but you
no,
don't see
Kevin
it
Bacon's
in
Kevin
death
Bacon
is
crush
the
scene,
best.
yeah.
The crush,
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah,
crush
that's
scene,
pretty
that was a
great.
great scene. That was the best.
I think the crushed balls is the most impactful thing. But
Yeah.
everyone in that theater
It's
jumped.
the most
and
memorable thing, yeah.
Yeah, it fucking ruled. But
She
yeah,
made
I
that
liked
dude
all the gore in
blow her
this.
pistol beforehand too, which
She did. But
God.
she called him. He was dressed as Buster Keaton. She's like, "Freeze, Buster," and I was like, "God, this is so fucking ridiculous. I love this.
you want to play? Now we're playing. That whole scene is great.
I
Yeah,
love
is.
that so much. Like, I don't know. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, I don't know. Like as far as like having it be an ensemble, I really didn't feel the ensembleness of this. I definitely think that she and Kevin Bacon and I think the director was pretty good at what she was bringing to the
Yeah.
table.
I wish you had
Like, I liked
more,
those
yeah.
three characters.
Yeah.
But I think that and I did like the best friend. I thought but I thought that he was underutilized a
Me
little bit.
too.
And I feel like everybody else in the movie, like Giancarlo Esposito, all those people, like the two girls that got killed, I think they were kind of not for they were kind of forgettable. They weren't really like they were players in the story, but they were kind of red shirts, and they're like they didn't.
Yeah.
I don't feel that Giancarlo really was given a lot to work with either.
I
Like,
thought they were
don't know.
kind of cheesy to be honest. I thought the manager, the guy cop, I don't
The
there
cops
were
I did not enjoy.
there
as
were
much.
too sometimes it was like too over the top because so the boyfriend, no, the best friend and the director were really solid but played like pretty straight. They were just interesting types of characters in interesting ways, and I felt they were underutilized. And then you have these other characters who feel like cartoons or something. I don't, the manager was too much and it was really cheesy
I
to
could see
me.
that
And the
point.
cop was like too much. And his death on the I wanted to be a star. I was like, this is so cheesy. I thought it was so corny to me. I didn't like that.
I think a lot
I
of
can
the
under-
references and influences for this are generally movies and styles that aren't really your bag to begin with, Juice. So that does
Yeah.
kind of make some sense.
But also too, it's
I-
too self-indulgent. It's okay to reference something
Sure.
or to do it, but like that slow motion kill, I was just like rolling my eyes. I was like, my guy, you're trying too hard. It felt too try hard to me. And that like I wanted to be a star and like dying. It's like we don't even like this guy. Why is this the guy who's supposed to have some kind of emotional like resonance of like I want to be a star dying on the we don't even like him and we don't even see him get killed. It's like done off screen. It was so cheesy and corny and like try hard. I didn't like the characters like you liked them.
Yeah, I didn't like the cops particularly. I thought
Mm.
that was pretty melodramatic at the end. Like he didn't need that. I think that
No.
the woman cop was a little bit like better because I could understand like it was sort of like a Goofus and Gallant sort of thing where she was the person who actually could have gotten Maxine to help them in some way, and she is the one like I don't know. That it just didn't really work that part. Giancarlo though, I can understand your point, but I thought that like for this place and time like somebody like a skeevy fucking wigged uh agent who had
Yeah.
also like has like fucking cartel connections or some shit, not cartel, like whatever, like murderous fucking
Mob
hitman at his
connections, yeah.
disposal. Like I think that tracks fine. Like it is cartoonish, but it was kind of a cartoonish. It was kind of
Yeah.
cartoon. It's a stereo. It's not even a stereotype. What am I looking for? It's like an archetype for a reason. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
people make cartoons out of it, but like I think to some extent there was some of that going on, and so I'm okay with somebody like leaning into that. Even like if you want to look at him, the boyfriend or whatever. Like no, I keep saying that. I didn't
Oh,
realize
yeah.
that they said that, but like the best friend, like he's very like
Leon.
he plays it very naturally,
Yeah.
but he's like an 80s punk. Like he's like an 80s punk skater kid. He's fitting a stereotype as well, or an
Yeah, he
archetype.
is.
So, and the director is a smug fucking artist. You know what I mean? Like if you want to
Yeah.
break him down into cartoon
Yeah.
characteristics, he can. But I
Her
think that they all add to the those two at least add to the feeling of
Yeah.
I like the
reality in
director
this cartoonishness.
in this a lot, and she drives home so hard the necessity of being ruthless to make it in the industry, and like this movie actually kind of lacks that sort of ruthlessness. It feels like a little bit like it pulls its punches to me overall, specifically the end, but like it
Yeah.
could have been
I think the end is where it pulls its punch, and like
yeah.
I like I really just think it all comes down to like not wanting Maxine to suffer the same fate as Pearl and
Mhm.
giving you somebody to root for, because like Pearl has already got a little bit of like that steam of being like someone who takes charge or whatever, but she's also a sociopathic fucking killer, and Maxine is a self-defender. Like she's a Bugs Bunny and Pearl is a Daffy Duck. You know what I mean? There's an aggressor and then a defender there. And like so like by all justification, I think it's fair to say that like yeah, she's ruthless. She's doing it for her own good and only when aggressed against. I think that all makes sense that she deserves to succeed. But getting what you deserve kind of runs giving what you deserve, if that's what you deserve, runs counter to me to the overall feeling that you are being oppressed by overwhelming forces. If you're going to play that and you're going to have to surmount that, I think you just got to play it a little differently than they did.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
like ultimately here's the thing though, like yeah, you're right. I've been harping on this too, but like this is a fun fucking movie. I had so much fun watching this. I had more fun watching this than I did watching X the first time. And like so to me like that is half the battle. Like I'm experientially I had a great time. I felt like the place setting was immaculately good and fun. I thought it was just like you said, Justin, unfocused in a lot of narrative ways. A few good ways it was focused, but there was a lot of unfocused stuff going on.
Yeah,
Just maybe too much going on. Too many things going
a little too scattershot. So another thing I really enjoyed was the score and the soundtrack. There's a lot of 80s bangers in here. As far as the score, there was a lot of nice synth stuff. And then like during the kills, specifically the one that you didn't like, Juice, it had that it's like Jalo, like big goofy drum synth thing happening that is goblin-esque. I like that. I like that he's harkening back to it and not like going full Jalo. It's also like pretty twisted to think that the killer is her father and he goes and like watches her dance at a peep show and like
on.
like why
Yeah.
if you know she works, you know what's going on. You don't have to go watch, like, you just know what happens in those
That's
places.
the thing that could have been
Anyone
played
wanna
up.
switch seats?
That religious
Yeah.
aspect, especially with the religious panic going on at the time, they didn't
Yeah.
play that up either.
Satanic
And
panic.
I thought like that could have, yeah, the dad's a creeper. He even when he touches her arm, he kind of like lingers, or like there's this weird moment where I don't know, he like kind of like rubs her arm or something. And I'm just like, there's pieces, there's pillars here, there's great elements, like, yeah, that's a great thing to point out. He goes and watches her at a peep show, but it's like, because we don't know the character, because that's not interwoven into this story, or her even like overcoming that type of thinking or lifestyle or anything, it just fizzles out because it's not developed well.
I think that
Yeah.
I think that the pursuit of the Jalo killer hurt this movie for that reason. Like, I feel like if we had more connection to who the father is and we got to understand that he was this way a little bit better before the villain monologue at the end, and then I think it might have sold a little bit easier. As it was just
Yeah.
kind of like, I don't know. I just feel like I really like the religious aspect to this. I think that there's like, it adds to what we already had with X, which was like sort of the misogynistic control of women's bodies and fortunes, and Pearl, where it's like just like your internal issues fucking you up, basically, your internal demons. In this case, like Maxine's demons are put upon to her by a rigid society, and she could fight back from that justifiably, but we don't get to even see that she's fighting that for most of the movie. Like, a lot, the only times we get, like, they hinted it heavily. They talk about the protesters. The movie's called The Puritan 2. Like, and the director does harp on that stuff. The director kind of tries to fill that gap a little bit, but it seems to speak more to my mind, to the idea of overcoming misogyny again, and that's like, it doesn't really comport with what's happening at the end to me. That seems more religious than just strict misogyny.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's something more they could have done there, maybe. But I still liked it. I still liked that was the tack that they took. I like the idea of going so far down the rabbit hole of being pro censorship, anti sexuality, all that stuff, being very religious, to the point where you're willing to maim and murder people because your kids ran away because you were oppressive in the first place. I think that's very fucking interesting, but we don't get a lot of time with it.
Yeah. I think it's interesting how they set up Maxine, like when she does her audition and like clearly nails it. It's a great bit of acting, maybe her strongest bit of acting in the whole movie. Actually, they just like focus on her face.
Yeah.
And then after she clearly knocks it out of the park and is a shoo-in for the role, they're like, "Oh yeah, take your top off. We got to see your breasts."
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
I
it's
guess
a
they-
kick
yeah.
it's a kick in the crotch, and I think that sort of sets up a framework that you might expect to be carried through that it isn't quite carried through in the way I thought it would anyways. But yeah, it's a little too
Yeah,
like
but-
scattershot, a little too
It's like there's a lot of ideas, but not a lot of like threading that creates a whole tapestry, I guess, is a bad
Yeah, there's
metaphor
nothing
for it.
connecting these ideas that are ultimately underdeveloped. You have interesting characters that are played well by most people that are mostly underdeveloped or underutilized. You have these interesting ideas about religion or about, you know, like the industry or just I don't know, but they're underutilized and they're not played against each other. If you could play this one aspect that you have that's interesting over here off of this aspect that's interesting over here, then they would bounce off together well. But for the most part, they're just kind of like separated and just underdeveloped. It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
There's a lot of that going on. The scattershot, unfocused nature is the biggest issue, but like God, what a ride. I really enjoyed it. I think it was paced
Yeah.
really nicely. I thought it was stylistically just so fucking fun and it just got more fun as time went on.
I
I
would
don't know.
say
I
the
love
best. It
the
looks
CTR like
great. Yeah.
lines and stuff. Like they just did a lot of little things. Maybe you arguably too many things to set this movie in the setting that it's in to the hilt, all as far as they possibly could. And I just
Yeah.
appreciate it. I like it.
I really like Kevin Bacon in this movie. I
Mhm.
was reading my Fangoria. There was an article in there where they interviewed Ty West, and Kevin Bacon apparently like sought Ty West out because he loved X and Pearl so much. He's like, dude, put me in, coach. And
That's awesome.
he explained the role of Labatt to him, and he was like, yeah, I'm down. And his instructions to Kevin Bacon, which I assume were probably to Giancarlo Esposito, to most people in this, is to like swing for the fences, play it big, don't worry about like holding back. And I think that really does make the Labatt character work for me. Like I love that he's larger than life with this like stereotypical, although I don't think very authentic New Orleans accent, and
Yeah.
he's just kind of like sweaty, and he's got his pants
It's
up over his belly button and his giant tie, and I like that he's a bit cartoonish, honestly. It's funny.
Me too, man. I like what's his name? Like he's like Benoit Blanc almost. Like he's fucking
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
taking it there. And like I also appreciate that. Like cartoonish, yeah, a little bit, but it's like this world is a little cartoon. It's like it is a
Yeah.
pastiche overall,
Yeah.
but he still plays it real enough to seem threatening. The actions that they give him to take and the way his attitude towards her is like it's believably threatening, and like I think that it's tough to straddle that line, but he does it. He reminded me of like a Coen Brothers movie guy. Like it
Oh,
was that.
dude, yeah. I could
I could
totally
see
see
him
that.
like he feels like
Yeah.
he belongs in Blood Simple or something. Like
Yes. Yeah. That's a good call, man. It does have that vibe. Or like the Fargo series, like totally could
Yeah.
be a
sure.
character in there.
I
Yeah. So
actually don't.
I like that though. Yeah, go ahead.
Does anyone nail their accent in this movie? I think they were all pretty right. This is the for Miyagatu. This is the one that it makes like I don't know. It makes a little more sense for Pearl. She literally lives on a farm in the middle of nowhere and communicates with like two people most of her life. Maxine, so I don't know. Maybe it's because she's in the setting or whatever, but her southern accent this time around was, I think, the
She
most
just gets more
troublesome it's
lines, I think.
been.
Mm.
I kind
Yeah,
of feel like you're right with Pearl. It's like that does make a logical kind of sense. In X, she's not she her lines are pretty sparse. She doesn't do a lot of talking in that
yeah,
movie.
she's not talking as
Um,
much. I did this one, but maybe it's because everyone's accents are so wild too. So,
mhm.
you know, Maxine's accent is kind of wonky and annoying at times. But then is it John Carlos? Isn't he doing like a weird accent too? I think everybody's doing an accent that just doesn't seem to work well for them. Like nobody's doing it well, I feel like.
He has an accent, but I'm not I'm not sure what that accent actually is. You know what I mean? Like if I feel like it's evocative of a certain kind of Los Angeles, like Hollywood agent type of person. But he's also like a Hispanic man, so he might be bringing some of that to the table too. I'm not sure what he's going for, to be
Felt
honest. But to
wonky.
me, it sounded it didn't feel wonky to me. I didn't peg it
Mm.
as unnatural in any bigger of a way than it is for. He's just playing boisterous. You know what I mean? That's what I took
Mhm.
away from him. The same way that Kevin Bacon was, where it's just like about boisterousness. The only thing that was different is that I couldn't identify like that he's like trying to be Foghorn Leghorn necessarily. I just didn't know which cartoon character he might be going for.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't bother me necessarily. Boys, are there any other major points you want to hit on before we rate this thing?
No, not me.
All right, let's do it. Out of 5, Randy, why don't you kick us off? How do you feel about MaXXXine?
Yeah, so like all in all, I was happy with this movie. It was to be honest, like I was kind of prepared for it to not be good, even like to maybe hate it. Not hate might be a strong word, but I was ready to be pretty disappointed, and I just wasn't. Like I just had a good time watching this movie. The performances were fun, the kills were fun, the setting was fun, and I really like the thematic the narrative strain about puritanical values over being oppressive towards people, and overcoming that and what it takes to overcome that and what it like all those things. I like all those things quite a lot. All the other stuff that we've already complained about, yeah, I see some faults in that, but all in all, I think it's maybe an easier rewatch for me than X. But Pearl stands alone amongst this trio for me, but by a pretty wide margin. It is the star maker of the three in my mind for both Mia Goth and Ty West. Like that's what justifies the hollowed tones with which we speak about this franchise. So that said, I enjoyed this movie, but it's flawed. I think that a 3.75 is a reasonable score to give it.
3 3/4 from Randy. Juice, what about you?
I think the strongest thing about this film is its look. It looks good, but at the same time, in the same way we talked about, like, oh my God, the oversaturation of zombie movies. It's like at this point in 2024, the 80s aesthetic and like has been fucking done so much, like so fucking much, even with the like talking about, and that includes things like the soundtrack and stuff. It's been saturated, and so this time around, even though it looks very beautiful, it doesn't impact me as much as it would have 10 years ago. So that kind of hurts it a little bit. I do like the going through like the sets and the aspects of the idea of like making a movie. The Like I said, that scene where they do the mask is fantastic. I do generally like Kevin Bacon's character, and I thought his kill was like really awesome. I wish almost they would have leaned into more, instead of maybe doing Giallo stuff, more of the like exploitation type of stuff for this kind of gritty setting. I don't know. I feel like that would have served it maybe a little well, because I like that like junkyard scene, or even the scene where she's in the alley, and she deals with that guy. That's got more of like an exploitation type of feel. I think those were like the highlights of the film, and ultimately, I think there was a lot of positive things to work with here, and I just don't think he connected them well. I wish the dad wasn't just thrown in at the end. I wish these cops who we don't really like or care about aren't the ones that gets the emotional kind of like resonant ending, or I don't know. I wish there was a little bit more balance in just general tone, and like a little bit more focus. In my opinion, like I didn't even like Randy saying like it was just like so much fun to watch. I didn't necessarily like. I didn't think it was a thrill ride. Yeah, like there was some fun scenes, I would say. But to me, this doesn't come anywhere close to X or Pearl, and I was generally just kind of disappointed with it and didn't think it had much narrative, and that the ending mostly fell flat. I'm gonna give it a 2.5. I was not impressed with this film.
Two and a
Bob,
half.
where are
Yo.
you?
Bob, out of 5.
I'm right here.
Where are you,
Uh,
Bob?
Where did you go?
Oh God,
Guys,
the
I'm right here.
Blues, they buried him.
The Blues, they fell.
Send more
The house is
blues.
fallen.
I think this is probably my least favorite of the trilogy, but that is, to be fair, a pretty high bar. I really think X and Pearl were great, and I don't think this movie is like a total pile of shit by any means. Similar to Randy, my experience of watching it, I had a really good time in the theater. It's visually really quite stunning. There's a handful of good kills, some good gore, some solid performances. The soundtrack is banging. There's definitely a lot here. It's also not like
Banging.
it is banging
Banging.
with a hard G there. It's referencing a lot of like 80s slashers and giallo movies that I tend to enjoy. I do really wish there was more gore in this though. There's like I think there's at least 3 kills off screen, maybe even more. And that kind of is a bummer. I want to like if you're doing the slasher giallo, like, you know, give us the red stuff. Let's get nuts, you know. The ball stomping sequence was solid. Kevin Bacon, I just really enjoy his character and his addition. Giancarlo Esposito as well. The ending, we've said, falls flat for several reasons. I wish there was a bigger bad that was just more satisfying. So I don't know. I do also I generally like movies about making movies. And I think there's a lot of cool stuff here that they maybe don't use to its fullest extent when they're shooting a certain like flashback sequence. I think for the movie where the actress like bites into a bloody apple and they have to like reset and like add more blood on her face and stuff like that. Like I think there's just more that you could do with scenes like that. But like the suffocating sequence was really great. Apparently that's very common too. I think that plaster gets hot when it's setting as well.
Dude,
So
that
like
would freak me out.
it's hard to breathe and you're starting to heat up. Like that's gonna freak some folks out, especially if it's like your first time, I would imagine. And she leaves the room, which I'm
Yeah.
sure is a big no-no, you know, like
Oh,
you're
yeah.
just yeah.
The
But
80s.
yeah, figure it
Yeah.
out.
Cocaine.
But the backlot chase is cool. It feels like a more horror version of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I kind of feel the same way about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as I do this. There's like a lot of like real stuff. It's like
Yeah.
what do they call it? Fiction. I don't know. Historical fiction. That's what I'm
Historical
looking for.
fiction, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like partly true, but then you kind of make some other stuff up, and it's like, well, why are we doing this? You know, it feels like
Yeah.
a little messy, and you know that movie's fine. This movie's fine. I could watch them both and have a decent time, but that kind of thing's maybe just not my vibe specifically. I don't really love that kind of thing. But then I'll watch Inglourious Bastards and just fucking love every second of it. So maybe I'm
Oh,
a
yeah.
liar. Maybe I'm just a total liar. This movie's okay though. Ty West, I think, has definitely done better. I'm kind of in between y'all, maybe a little closer to Randy here. I'm gonna give this a 3.5 out of 5, and that's gonna put our aggregate at a 3.25 for MaXXXine.
It's a big step
Before we
down from Pearl and X, boys.
Yeah.
Did you look it up? I was gonna do that.
I would I think
I
X
have
it's got to be close to like 4.5, and I think Pearl's like close to a 5.
Yeah, so I gave both Pearl and X a 4.5.
Yeah.
So I like, unbeknownst to me, I think my opinion of Pearl has gone up. My opinion of X has gone down over time because I see X now as more of a 3.5, 3.75 maybe. This is 3.75, maybe a 4, but Pearl is a 5, man. That's a hard 5 for me. But you guys, on the other hand, Bob, you gave Pearl a 4 and gave X a 4.25.
Whoa.
Which seems low for Pearl for me. And then Juice, you gave Pearl a 5 and X a 4. So what I didn't hear what you gave this movie. What did you give this movie?
2.5.
2.5, which that's a significant downgrade.
It is a significant downgrade.
So you're the only one amongst us who has the full consistency in your score here, because
Oh yeah,
I've definitely fluctuated since then.
consistent soju. That's what they call
I don't
it.
think I've
Yeah.
really changed at all.
No,
4.25 for X, 4
Bob,
for
yeah.
Pearl, and 3.5
I guess
for
that's
this.
true. So
Bob,
I'm
yeah,
the
Bob
inconsistent
put
one.
X over Pearl in his
Yeah.
top 10. So
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, then yeah, that's crazy to me. By the way, that's crazy. You're
it was
crazy.
crazy to me at the time.
I'm just insane, brother.
Bob, your opinions are wild.
wild.
I can't handle them.
Opinions are like my asshole, wild.
Wild and full of shit.
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, so that's 3.25 from us on MaXXXine. Let's go ahead and jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment, see what the critics and users think about the film.
Certified fresh to death.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to have these gentlemen guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate positive score is for MaXXXine on RottenTomatoes.com. We're going to start as we always do with the critical review. That aggregate is going to be an aggregate of 181 reviews. So 181 is the magic number here. We'll start with Juice today. Juice, where do you think, what percentage of those 181 reviews would you wager are positive reviews?
I think critics are maybe gonna go higher on this one. Also, too, like critics love movies about Hollywood and making movies and stuff. There's this like obsession with LA that I don't really like, or like I don't know, Hollywood, California, that I don't really get. I don't know. I don't really care about it, honestly. So I think it's just gonna get this like weird boost. So I don't know. I'll take The Boys 86.
All right, the boys. Rob, you got a necktie remedy from Juice. What about you?
Bomb.
Dude, I feel pretty differently. I think
Oh.
the general vibe is very mixed on this, and I don't know. I could see critics really not liking this because, for all the reasons that we've already stated.
We are
So,
critics.
definitely the under, but how far under shall I go? I'm gonna be, I think, fairly conservative with a 70 on this.
70. All right, so that's quite a gap. There's a 16-point gap between you guys, and between the winner and the correct response, there is only 5 points. The correct response is, of course, 75%. Bob's gonna take this
Ooh.
one away.
All right.
Toot.
75%.
Not as low as
There
you
you
thought,
go.
though, Bob.
Not as low as I thought. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, not as low as I thought either. I had only heard a couple of things about this movie up until this point, and they were mostly disappointment. Like, I think those have been the loudest voices so far, it seems to be, at least that I've seen. So I'm pleasantly surprised because I think this movie deserves some praise. We're going to go over to the audience score now. There are 250 plus verified ratings for this film. We're going to go in reverse order with Bob starting us off. Out of those 250 plus ratings, what do you imagine to be the aggregate positive score?
That's a small sample for the audience. I think, again, man, it seems to be pretty mixed with folks. I think the horror crowd definitely came out for this, so they might get a kick out of the references. They people watching this probably have seen the other movies. I would hope they've seen the other movies. They know a little bit about Ty West, what he's doing. So low-ish, but not too low. There's still some good stuff happening here. The critics was a 75. I'm going to say there's going to be maybe a slight uptick of rage machines that just like to rage about things that are maybe not exactly what they wanted them to be, and drop this down a little bit. I'm gonna go a little lower with I'll take the comedy number of 69. That feels right.
Whoa.
69, dudes!
That's the name of MaXXXine's most recent film. Soju, where are you coming in on this one? Over, under, sideways?
Yeah, I think it's if the critics are only going to get up to 75, I think this one's got to be lower. And yeah, so I think I'll take 65.
65. All right. Well, you guys are both not super close. 10 points away from the correct answer. And that 10-point difference is gonna leave us with a 79.
Holy
which
fuck.
gives Bob the sweep here. The audience came out for this all right.
Oh,
Bob.
good. That's a Hell Skeet sweep right there.
That's a Hell Skeet sweep.
Gotta love it.
Congratulations on your big win.
Get your hand off my penis!
All right. So
I'm glad people were more positive on this than we thought. I think that's generally a good thing. Like, we get so much like pure garbage, that like even though if we don't might not love this movie, it's better than a lot of the stuff that we see and have to review on the show. So like I'm glad people are still
Yeah.
somewhat
It's
positive.
better than The Strangers, that's for damn sure.
God in
But honestly,
heaven.
I was just
Fucking-
updating my list, like top, 10 horror movies of the
Yeah.
year, and I was like, it's going down. Like
Damn.
it's I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
like it's not
which
Well,
is
if you
a
give it
good-
2.5, then
which is-
Yeah.
damn.
I think that says some good stuff for the year. We're only halfway through it. There's still a lot of bangers coming in the back
Sure,
half.
Sure.
It's been a decent year, I think.
Yeah, it's been
I think so
solid.
too.
It's no
Here's the
2022, but it's
Well, yeah.
Oh well, what is?
Oh my God.
All right.
2015.
Aw, yeah.
The critics' consensus reads as follows: intoxicating with its maximal style, MaXXXine is an uneven but vibrant pastiche that drives a stiletto through Hollywood's heart. I feel that
Hollywood's nutsack.
yeah, right through the sack. Yeah.
A dong stomping good time, says so.
This movie
Cheers.
features a young woman
Straight Chilling Podcast.
stomping the ball sack of a Hollywood icon in the back alleyway. Hilarious.
Love to see it.
You love to see it. So now, as we always do, we're going to go and read a couple negative reviews and see if there's something funny in there. I have a feeling it's going to be just lead to more discussion, so we'll take it quick.
Randy, in your
trilogy's-
AI generated picture, next to those high heels, are those supposed to be nutsacks?
Those are walnuts.
Okay.
It's a metaphor. See if you can figure it out.
Why are there 3?
It's like, why are
Because that AI sucks. That's why.
My third ball. Oh God.
Because AI
You boys
sucks
don't have
shit.
3? That's not
Well, I had
I
3,
got ball
but
to spare.
one of them got stomped off, so now I only got 2.
Oh, damn.
Man, god damn. All right, well, let's read some negative reviews here. The trilogy's final chapter is ultimately a letdown as the film reduces the take charge agency of its protagonist to a simplistic finale with a big bad reveal that unmasks such a genuinely weak performance that they are more laughable than frightening. I guess he really didn't like the dad's performance, is what I'm gathering from that.
I guess. Yeah, he was hamming it up too.
He
but
was hamming
He was
it
hamming
up,
it up a
yeah.
lot. But
no more than
I didn't have a
half
problem with it.
the other characters.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. I don't disagree or agree entirely with that.
Yeah.
All right,
Personal
let's read one
preference.
more. Yeah, let's read one more here. None of the information learned in MaXXXine is revelatory, and the final 20 minutes take a narrative swerve that rob the character of any growth and indeed feel like a waste of time. I don't think that's grammatically correct. But,
I generally agree with the sentiment, though.
Yeah.
yeah, I do too. I think that's
Mm.
yeah, I think that's more negative than I would put it, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
in the zone. All right. I'm just gonna call it there because it seems like these
Hilarious,
are all
as
the
always.
funniest knee slappers I've ever heard. We don't have time to laugh this much. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Oh.
That's
All right.
laughing. That is Bob laughing.
There's just a tiny bit of trivia. Let's go ahead and get into it.
All right, let's jump there.
It's totally time for trivia.
Per usual, these new movies are pretty light on the trivia, but I got a little bit. So, according to Mia Goth, she tried listening to 80s music such as Blondie to immerse herself in the setting of the movie when they were filming, but it didn't give her the quote energy she needed. So she swapped over to some hip hop, such as Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and Eminem, to give her that confidence.
Okay.
Ball stomping music, Eminem.
I feel nothing for that.
You heard it.
I feel nothing anymore.
I don't know. I would have been all over like 80s punk for that.
Yeah,
You're
just
not a hip-
misfits.
Whatever.
You're not a hip
On
hop
repeat.
boys, Randy.
That is accurate. So I'm biased, but
This is my good friend Hip Hop Randy.
that's
He
that's
does.
my evil fucking twin.
If they aren't crusty and unbathed, Randy doesn't want to listen to it.
No,
I love my crust punks, man.
Ugh.
Find me a mutt and put a disgusting red handkerchief around his neck, and I'm a happy lad.
Woof.
everybody knows you listen to music with your nose first,
Oh, yeah.
Randy.
Oh,
Isn't that
yeah.
right?
Absolutely. It's the best.
Like nothing I'd ever smelled before in my life.
The smellier, the better they sound.
Mm-hmm.
The Hollywood star MaXXXine puts her cigarette out on is Theda Barra's. The actress Pearl took inspiration from to name the crocodile in Pearl.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I was wondering what that name was. I was like, I don't know that name, but there's got to be a reason they're zoning in on this.
It's cool,
Yeah,
right?
they definitely hold on it.
Hold.
In January 2024, it was reported that Mia Goth was being sued by background actor James Hunter, who played a corpse on the set, for intentionally kicking him in the head and then taunting him about it. The suit also includes a wrongful termination claim against A24 and Ty West. I don't know if that's actually gone to court or what's happened with that since, but that was a big news story when it happened. I remember.
I forgot all about that.
I'm not gonna lie, I could see Mia Goth being kind of shitty. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah,
I could
dude.
as well.
It does not stretch my
I
imagination.
could believe that. I'm not necessarily believing it, but I could believe that.
Yeah. I think she taps into something real with these roles.
Yeah.
Yeah, which makes for phenomenal performances, and but
yeah,
I think there's something percolating there that I could
maybe.
see that happening. Yeah.
I really hope that it's not the world's biggest deal, whatever it is. But
Yeah, me too.
who knows? Who knows, man? No
Drama.
judgments. We'll wait and see.
Yeah. This is the last bit I have here. So, though MaXXXine was originally developed as the end of the X trilogy, Ty West later stated in February 2024 that he has plans for a fourth installment, which would depend on the third film's reception. Again, in May of 2024, he confirmed that he was working on a fourth film and that he may develop it as his next project, potentially. So,
And part of me really likes that because I like all these movies.
me too.
But
yeah,
I just don't. I feel like why go like what is he have left to say? Like is he gonna I don't know. I don't know if I want to see Mia Goth doing another version of the same person. I think it has if you set just keep doing pastiches of specific types of
No.
movie and times and places.
think-
I'm totally on board for that.
I think. I mean, I don't know. You could do anything, but I think if you did some sort of jump forward in time to see what her success and fame had wrought, like she's living alone in Hollywood and she is sort of the true analog to Pearl with success, and she still is unhappy versus Pearl and never actually attained success and was an unhappy psychotic person. Maybe you could do something interesting with
Here you go.
that.
She's washed up doing horror cons. In her
Dude.
lady. It's set in the
And it's a
modern
found
time.
footage movie.
Shit.
And it's a bunch of horror nerds who have a podcast who are obsessively
And they're starring
Have you
with
heard of our
Mia
podcast?
Goth. Their names are
Well-
Bob, Randy, and Soju.
and Rose.
I'm just pulling this out of the air. Soju was the last one. Yeah.
And,
Maybe
He lives in
maybe
Korea,
they're
but he
all
loves
out of
Hollywood so much
Florida.
he comes back for the horror con, and he just can't get enough of Hollywood. Famously, that's what he
just
said.
out of there.
He loves it. He fucking
No,
can't
I
get
don't know,
enough.
man. I'm not saying they couldn't make something great. The track record speaks for itself, but I feel like
Hang it up.
the-
I don't think we.
Yeah,
I
like,
think he's out of
let
ideas.
that
I think
rest
he's just
and do
kinda-
more pastiches if you want, but let them be their own thing. Let them
Yeah.
breathe.
Yeah.
They don't need the baggage. You don't have to bring
No.
retread into everything you do.
Well, yeah, I hope this doesn't become this is the moneymaker. We gotta attach
God, I
this
hope not.
name to it so
I
that
don't-
it
Watching-
sells or gets a bigger budget. It's like, dude, come on. I
I don't
don't
think it is. So this, I could
don't
not
think so
find.
either.
I have more faith
I-
than that, but
I could not find an accurate budget for this movie. I tried and tried and tried. The only thing I found was $200 million. That is not accurate whatsoever. So-
that is insane.
It's not accurate. But I did find on Box Office Mojo how much this made opening weekend, and it's 6.7 million. So if I had to guess, this was in between 5 and 10 million, probably. I don't know. It definitely, it
Yeah.
seems like it has a bigger budget than the other two for sure. So maybe for the locations, they bumped it up to 15 because they definitely, you know, they're filming on some pretty interesting locations that I'm sure are not cheap. I don't know. I'm just guessing here. Plus, like, at least double it for all the promotion and commercials and yada, yada, yada. So I don't know that this is like bringing home mega bacon necessarily. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe it picks up steam. It's kind of unfortunate for this movie that Longlegs comes out next weekend because the fucking media train behind that
That's
is
true.
insane.
They put a lot of media into that budget.
I know.
Holy
I'm
shit.
trying to avoid it, but it's really quite difficult.
I know. Like yeah, I couldn't avoid the trailer more than once now, so kind of can't help but know more about the movie than I'd like to going in.
Watch this movie.
Like, we're gonna fucking hell.
They did a really great job with the teasers. I wish they would have just stuck with that.
Yeah,
I wish they would have
yeah.
Cloverfielded it a little bit more.
Cloverfield my ass. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is gonna make a ton of money, but hopefully it makes its budget back in A24 and, you know, Ty West
Yeah.
get the coin because it's not a piece of shit at all.
No.
Anyway, that's all the trivia I got for this one. Let's go ahead and jump into our cooter of the week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the week.
Juice, what is a cooter and why do we hunt them?
Well, Cooter's character type, and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter has to hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter, but we want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance, smug arrogance, overall looking attire, overall patheticness, and manipulation. Boys, we got
Boy, do we
ourselves a
have
cooter.
cooters in this movie.
I can't really clock one here, boys.
Might need
Larry
some
Fessenden?
assistance.
No? I don't know.
Sweet Larry.
Yeah,
mean-
I don't know who's King Cooter here. We got a lot to choose from. We want to
We
start
got
with
a lot
the
to choose from.
dad.
Her
It's
dad, I think, is
He seems like the most obvious because he's
sexual
the big bad.
deviance. Don't watch your daughter
Absolutely.
do a strip show.
yeah.
Even
don't-
don't
don't
hate
do
watch it
that.
either. There's no good reason to be watching that.
he had a rage boner. You know he did. That's
Yeah,
fucked up.
I think he must have.
Manipulation, smug arrogance, out the ass. He's wearing a stupid robe attire. His whole everything about him is pathetic. Everything.
I think he's wearing eyeliner too. I'm like, I don't know.
Oh
There's
my
something
God.
about
What is
that.
it,
Like,
2006?
well, no, it's just that like for like a conservative, like for this to be a conservative front, you know what I mean, or a conservative like a evangelical thing. I would think that I think it's weird that they go in for that sort of thing, even for the sake of their big plot or whatever. Just like it seems like an actual somebody that entrenched in those values would
Randy,
see it as like a
Are
sin
you,
and all that
are
shit.
you
but
shaming Guy Liner right now? You know what you're doing to our podcast?
I'm shaming murderous preacher men. Is that allowed still?
That
in
was
this
really
country?
okay.
that was real popular Bob back in 2006. Wore it every day.
Guy
I
Liner.
did. It was my thing.
But yeah,
I'm a
pathetic as
guy
fuck.
and I'm lining mine.
Remember metrosexual? You remember how that was once a word people used regularly? Metrosexual.
Which means you like got
Oh,
your
you
haircut.
a haircut. And
Yeah, it means
It's
you wear
like
like a
ironed
vest
your
sometimes.
Trim your
Yeah.
beard.
Yeah.
What a metrosexual.
Oh my
Whoa.
God, you gotta watch out for that one over
Fitted
there.
pants. Oh my
He's
God.
clean.
He's clean.
I would expect a little of that gay panic in him to before putting on the guy liner, but you know, whatever. Pathetic.
I bet he wipes
Absolutely.
his ass too. What a loser.
Oh, he touches his beehole. He does the doorbell.
He's he's really
He rocks-
toeing the line there.
He's rocking himself with the doorbell on the daily, I bet.
He touches his asshole.
That's
More to
so
come on that.
unfortunate. There's so many crusty asshole men just rolling around with dirty shorts.
They
Clean-
deserve to sit in their own filth.
Clean your
That brown short-
butthole.
It's not doing them any favors, you know.
Open up a can of with ass.
I mean, it's got to be the dad, right? I don't know that anybody else could beat
well, we
him.
could
You could
say LeBlanc,
Kevin
whatever
Bacon,
his name is. He's definitely got some in there.
Labatt, yeah,
Yeah.
Labatt,
Yeah.
thank you. He's got some
smug
manipulation for
arrogance,
sure.
manipulation. You could give him a tire because that suit's out of control, man.
Yeah. A little bit of patheticness. He doesn't quite go full Jeremiah Sand in the end, but he comes close. He doesn't offer to suck their dicks to get out of that trash compactor, but he's
Yeah.
he's blubbering. And I mean, not that I totally
I
blame him
mean,
for that,
yeah.
He's about to get smushed.
Right after,
I don't
yeah, he
know.
was very smug, arrogant though, because he has that whole thing like, "Do you know why people hire me? Because I'm the
Yeah.
best," and immediately gets
Yeah.
caught.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
I
think
don't
he
know.
hits enough. Smug arrogance,
Yeah.
manipulation.
Looking a
well,
tire.
Looking a
I
tire.
think it looks great.
Well,
Well, yeah, okay. I mean, I don't think he gets sexual deviance. Pathetic,
patheticness,
maybe a
a
little.
little bit. Well, she just
Might
like
be
whoops his
kinda
ass,
close.
and his like smug arrogance that
She
leads to
does
his
beat the shit
patheticness.
out
Like she just rips his mirror off, just whoops his in the car.
Fucking keys his ass
Yeah,
to
In
death,
the
basically.
face.
yeah.
He should have just like laid down, like don't sit up anymore.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Like,
Lean over. Maybe he had a
taking keys to the
seatbelt
face.
on.
Hold your hand. I don't know.
Just
Like,
being a responsible driver.
But those
I
can't
know.
come off. We all know that.
Well, I mean, when
Does
you're getting
anyone want to switch seats?
you're getting punched in the face, I'm not thinking about taking my seatbelt off.
Dude, I would if it was keeping me from moving. I'd be thinking about it.
I'd probably
Yeah.
be trying to grab her arm, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
Yeah.
There's also a scene in this that drove me nuts because it's a classic thing where she gets a clear plastic bag pulled over her face and I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
rip a hole.
But yeah,
Yeah,
rip
these
a
rip
hole.
holes.
It's a
Yeah,
plastic bag.
Why do we always play this game? Rip a hole.
Nobody does it.
They're so weak. They can't even hold our groceries properly.
Actually, Terrifier 2. Was it Terrifier 2? Something I watched recently. They did it in.
No.
It wasn't Terrifier 2.
Did
What
they
was it?
Open
I
a
don't know.
hole or no? They didn't do the hole.
They,
or
no, they ripped open a hole.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm blanking on what it was. I meant to write it down.
That was your
Anyway.
hot Friday night, Randy. I'm sure.
Whoa, Randy.
Oh yeah.
Oh. It's the dad.
Yeah,
it's got to
I
be the
think
dad.
Dad's King Cooter. We got some
Lock him up.
available here, but did we didn't talk about the guy in the alley, did we?
Oh, Buster
no.
Keaton.
Yeah,
we
we
did
didn't
not.
talk about him. Sexual deviance,
pretty good.
patheticness,
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
smug
Tire.
arrogance.
Smug arrogance.
Looking at tire, yeah.
Oh.
Concealing your rape scheme with a fucking it's giving dirty Elmo. Dirty.
I don't know if you
Times
could
Square
say
Elmo.
full on manipulation, but like he's
Yeah.
not trying to hide anything either. So like strong
Man,
4
like-
out of 5.
4 out of 5. So yeah, we got some cooters here, boys.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good one. Good call.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
motherfucker.
I'm a
They can share
hunter.
a
I'm a
hot tub.
professional hunter of
Mm.
cooters.
Okay, all right.
We're hunting for dick.
Wow.
Yeah, we
That's
are.
right. And MaXXXine got one for us. All right.
All right.
Cool.
Got at least 3 there. Lock them up.
Lock
Throw
them
away
up.
the key.
Lock them.
Boom. All right, boys. Let's go ahead and let our hair down and talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey, gang, what you been watching?
Randy, kick us off. What you been watching?
Oh boy. So I have continued watching Are You Afraid of the Dark, which I believe I mentioned last week. I really enjoy it. The amount of which it is nostalgia versus actually being surprisingly good for a kids horror show, I'm still not sure, but I don't really care at this point. I'm having a good time with it. Still watching The Boys season 4. It is a fun show. Very fun show. Currently a very insufferable fan group, but that's how it goes.
Oh boy.
I've been trying to get more into the Bear season 3, but I haven't found time to continue. I think I'm like 3 episodes in. That show is so fucking good. I'm really excited to watch more of that. Watched a film called Good Boy that came out last year, which I had been meaning to see. Boy, that movie's kind of a drag.
What?
Cool.
I've got some feelings about that one, but I don't know. I feel like I need more time than is allotted here to really parse it. I guess I liked it. And then managed to strike out down to Florida and then to Jacksonville to catch the last screening at Sunray, which was Everything is Terrible's Doggy Woggy's Poochie Woochies performance, that ended with three men in childlike dog costumes ripping the tables off of their metal poles and ripping shit off the walls at the theater in its last hurrah, with the blessing, well, purportedly with the
Maybe.
blessing of people.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually true. I feel like,
Allegedly.
yeah, who knows? But it was fucking crazy, and I had a good time with it. That is definitely the weirdest Everything is Terrible, I guess, movie that I have seen. I love their
Supercut
stuff.
situation.
Yeah, it was a little much. I was kind of an assault on the senses, and
Yeah.
I
If
think
you
that
never-
was intentional. But oof.
If you don't know what they do, they literally find footage. A lot of it's like weird old VHS tapes, and they cut it together to form some sort of very loose narrative. This one was mostly dog footage. And they've got one about Satan and all these other things that you can buy on DVD, some of them on VHS too. It's weird
It's a very
and
weird
funny.
thing.
Yeah.
It's a very weird thing, and the actual dog show, like the movie, was supposed to be a recreation of Jodorowsky's Holy Mountain, which I haven't seen, but I've given to believe is incredibly weird in its own right. So it's just like maybe a step too weird for my brain, ultimately. But I had a good time. I had a good time with it, and like it was really nice to see Sunray off. You know, that place was.
I gotta mention. So before they actually started the Doggy Woggies Poochie Woochies thing, they had like a few little short things that they edited together
Oh
to
my
maybe
God,
like
dude, yeah.
set the tone or break the ice, or I don't know. And one of them, you and Beck, before the show started, had just mentioned to me. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that sounds weird. I guess I should try and find it and watch it. And then they showed it. And it was like maybe 5 minutes about this butthole massaging video that's supposed to help you relax, but is very clearly just like softcore porn, maybe hardcore porn, because it's edited. So like there's no penetration on screen, but you see so many buttholes close up, massaging asses and buttholes. And
Whoa.
a couple dicks in there, and they had all these different techniques on how to massage butts, like
Spider
the
fingers.
doorbell, spider fingers, the doorbell, and how to like breathe through your ass, and they like have this camera just like so tightly focused on an asshole, like breathing, like pulsating. This shit, I have not laughed that hard in so long. I
We
thought I
were
was gonna
rolling.
fucking fall out of the
Rob,
chair.
Rob, I thought might lose consciousness for a second.
It was
that
funniest
much.
shit, dude.
Oh my god.
I want it so I can watch it every day.
I believe that.
God, it was so
Um,
funny.
I'm gonna have to check
Yeah.
this out.
And then
damn.
we rounded things out. We had my last thing was just Wet Hot American Summer to round
Yeah.
things out back at Bob's place, just to bring the spirits up after a kind of a last. The reason we watched it is because I was like, man, this feels like the last day at camp. Everybody's like signing
Yeah.
shit and sad.
Aw.
Damn. So then we watched Wet Hot American Summer to feel a little better, and we did. It was a good time.
It helped. It did, yeah.
That's it for
Cool.
me.
Juice, what you been watching, man?
I finally have been watching a lot of things, but nothing that I can really talk about at this point because it was for BFun that was this past week, and it's still going on now. It'll go up until this Friday's the closing ceremony, but then they'll have like I think Saturday and Sunday they'll still be doing some like screenings and stuff. But for the most part, the festival you finished on Friday. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I got to meet a lot of great people and see a lot of great movies, and still have some to come, some interviews to come, lots of footage to drop, and everything like that. So just be on the lookout for some BFun coverage and interviews and footage and guest spots coming up soon, but nothing I can really talk about at this time. So Bob,
Cryptic.
whoa, Bob, what you been watching, my guy?
Yo. I saw, so this past week was the 3rd and 4th of July. So of course, July 3rd is Return of the Living Dead Day. I hung out with brother Mikey and we threw that on. Always a good time. Never get tired of it.
Where did you
Also,
stream it?
it was on 4K at my house, good sir.
Oh.
Oh my
Don't get
God.
it twisted.
Oh
Uh,
my
Big
God.
old doinks.
The 4th of July Sunray show, they had 5 screenings of Jaws since it was the last time they'd be able to do it, and every
Aw.
single one was sold out. And I went to the second screening, which was like at 12:15, and it was, I mean, it was asses to elbows. There's so many people there. They were buying buckets of Narragansett. Everybody crushed the can with Quinn. So it was awesome. It was a great time.
Yeah,
I love that tradition that I think they've done it literally every year since they've opened. And it's always fun. So we got to do that one more time. Went to the Everything is Terrible thing. It was super weird and insane and kind of an appropriate way to send Sunray off. I also, before that, watched Inside Out 2, also at Sunray. I can't remember if I mentioned that or not already.
How many assholes were in that?
Zero. Luckily, zero assholes in that.
Oh.
It's it's not quite as good as the original, which is typically how it goes, right? But it was mostly enjoyable. Very much about the character of anxiety, like maybe too much. It's like the vast majority is just anxiety takes control, and the rest
There's
of the
other emotions, guys.
emotions are trying to like
Not in
get things back
2024,
on
there's
track.
not.
Yeah, I know. Maybe
horniness and
Well, man,
Jesus.
Inside Out 3 is going to be a fucking blast.
That's when they're gonna say Inside Out went woke or whatever. Oh God, they're so horny. Yeah, it was okay. It was a decent sequel to what I think is a really good movie. The first one, the first Inside Out. We wrapped up the Bears season 3. It comparatively felt a little weak to me. Still good, still worth
like
watching.
overall or just the ending?
Overall, the ending, apparently they shot season 3 and 4 back to back. So like there is not a resolution. It's just like
Oh,
more to
really?
come, basically. And
Well,
was
I
like,
mean, there's
"Oh,
never
okay."
really a resolution.
Yeah, I
was
guess.
wondering where they were going to go with this season anyway, but
Kind
It
of curious
was-
myself.
a little disappointing.
Yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't satisfying. The ending wasn't.
okay.
But more to come, and I'm sure it'll be good. It's a solid show still. It's definitely still worth checking out. And yeah, that's more or less what I've been watching this week. That's about it.
Cool.
Get your butthole massage, people. It's good for your health. I'm telling you. I learned a
believe
lot.
that.
Ring the doorbell.
Do it every
My eyes
day.
are open. The self massage, or get your partner in there. It's plumb awesome. Yeah, that's it. We don't have any voicemails this week, but if you guys are listening and would like to call in next week, leave us a voicemail. You can do so at 904-638-3231. Gentlemen, you want to throw out any prompts for next week's show?
Well, I guess no one loves me. I guess that's why they didn't call. So I mean, I doubt anyone will call next week too. You know.
There, you
What are
gotta
you, everyone's
yell some-
grandma? What is this? Like,
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
it's clear no one cares about this podcast, so let's just hang it up.
that's
boys.
all right.
No
I'll call
reason to-
myself.
No reason to continue.
I'll just massage my own butthole.
You
I
can't pick
guess.
up the phone and call your soju? What's the matter with
You
you?
soju?
What is the next
I'm
movie?
talking to
Oh,
my
it's
soju right
Long
now.
Legs,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, we're talking about
call in.
long legs.
Call in and tell us about your long legs. How long are
Whoa.
they? Give us
Tell
a
me
dimension.
every detail down to the
Tell me.
feet.
Specifically.
all the details about the feet.
Tell me how many toes you have.
God.
3 1/4.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
stuff right there.
Yeah, long legs. I'm pretty stoked about. I think we're halfway through the year. You know, I can't remember if we threw this question out or not. But call in with like your favorites of the year, or maybe your
Yeah.
stinkers of the year. You know, since we're about halfway done.
Strangers number one, of course.
Give us your X
Top
trilogy thoughts
tier.
too. I mean,
Yeah. What do you
Yeah,
rank
how's-
'em?
give us your ranking.
Yeah.
And if it's not Pearl X MaXXXine, then what are you thinking?
Then you are correct in being wrong.
Then you're the Bob of the group.
This really makes people want to call in for sure. When you tell
Let
them they're
us
idiots
judge
before they
you.
even call. Like,
Look, here's
Let
that's
us
called
shit
it's
on
called
your
bait, Rob.
opinion.
Let us bait, please. This is how discourse happens in this
Mm.
country.
You think
You have
people
to
don't
say
want to
something
argue,
incendiary,
Bob?
and then people get mad at you, and
think
then they
people
talk. Then they give you
This
traffic,
is
and that's how this works.
audible clickbait.
We're
This-
capable
I
of
get it.
squashing people's opinions. Is that what you think,
Yeah.
Bob?
Is that what you think?
I think Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is better than any of these movies, personally.
You're probably right, most likely. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, call in 904-638-3231. How many hot dogs did you eat on the 4th? How many fingers did you
Hot
blow
dog.
up?
Oh,
How
my
many
Lord.
toes did you blow off? Send us pictures for Justin specifically.
Send us pictures of all the toes you blew
I just want the
off.
descriptions.
Oh,
I need the words.
God.
no. Just a
My
very literary
mind.
man.
My mind shall develop the picture.
Nothing can compare to the powers of my mind.
It's true. My mind's a wild place.
God,
God in
damn.
heaven. God in
I'm gonna look for a guy with a round, muscular butt.
Yeah.
That needs massaging, most likely. Give him the long
Ju-
doorbell. Just the,
Justin just Q-chade.
just keep going. You just
Bob,
Oh,
down.
that's man. You don't put your finger in the doorbell. Bob.
oh yeah, you do. If you ring it right, buddy. Yeah, that's
This is
it.
the bloke who got me on the penis before.
Watch Long Legs. Get ready for next week's show. Comes out this weekend. Try and avoid the trailers as best you can. I just was scrolling Instagram and there's just like blurb reviews already. It's too much, man. Try and avoid it if you can. And yeah, we'll be talking about Long Legs next week. Call in, leave a voicemail if you want to find us on social media. Just search Straight Chilling Podcast. We'll pop right up. All the links to all that shit's always in our show notes too. You can click on those. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
We're gonna get done, dudes!